All right? Please give another round of applause with some energy.
Obesity is one of the greatest health challenges of our time. But just how serious is the problem? Many assume obesity is simply the result of overeating, but the truth is far more complex. Sedentary lifestyles, ultra-processed foods, stress, and genetics all contribute to its rise. According to the World Obesity Federation, in 2024, more than 1 billion people worldwide were living with obesity, highlighting its urgency as a global health crisis. In fact, obesity rates have tripled since 1975, reflecting the alarming pace at which this issue has grown. Obesity isn't just about excess weight, it serves as a gateway to severe health risks, including diabetes, heart disease, and other life-threatening conditions. However, science and lifestyle changes offer hope. Medical advancements, personalized nutrition, and community-driven initiatives are reshaping the fight against obesity. Obesity is a challenge, but not an impossible one. Through awareness, scientific innovation, and collective action, we can make a difference. The real question is, are we ready?
I think this intro did my job for me. I'm going to come down and sit down in the audience and let them chat amongst themselves, I think. Great intro, Ajit. Thank you very much. The reason why we did this panel this year is that when you look at the therapeutics industry, it is alive and buzzing with research and investment in obesity. What was considered as something that was way down the list for biotech and big pharma is right at the top of this list. GLP-1. That is the target that everybody has been looking and is after. The drug Ozempic from Novo Nordisk has taken this pharma company from not being at the forefront to at the very forefront of the world pharmaceutical industry. It's turned the world upside down. And we asked Andy in our team day earlier this year to kind of educate us on some of the background research and some of the chemistry and the biology behind some of this research. I thought it was a good time to open this discussion out and the multi-factor elements that contribute to obesity. So firstly, I'd like to, I'd firstly like all of you to introduce yourselves very, very briefly, quickly.
I am Dr. Chirag Thakkar. I am heading Adroit Center for Digestive and Obesity Surgery. And for the past 15 years, now we are helping people change their lives by dealing their digestive and obesity-related problems. So that includes laparoscopic surgery for digestive problems, bariatric surgery, and of course, guide and motivate them for lifestyle change.
Thank you. Kat.
Hi. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Hello. I'm VP of Drug Discovery for the East Coast of America for O2H Discovery, and that's how most people. That's how most people in this room will know me. But a few years ago, I worked for about 4 years as head of technology for an innovative health profiling company called Zenavida. And in that, it spurns a personal interest in preventative healthcare and how we can track the early stages of non-communicable diseases. So generally speaking, I'm a chemist and cell biologist by training. I also have an MBA, and I've been in the drug discovery for 20 years. Having a period of time looking at it from the opposite angle, from prevention, was really eye-opening for me.
Thank you, Kat.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Shaily here. I'm a nutritionist and a triathlete. People who do not know triathlon, it includes 3 sports: swimming, cycling, and running. So I've just earned the title of Ironman, which is world's one-day toughest endurance race. Thank you. And bringing nutrition experience into the fitness and trying to help one and many, embracing the holistic wellness and not just diet. Thank you.
Yeah, hi everyone. First of all, happy 20th birthday O2H group.
Thank you.
And so myself, Vrunda Shah. I'm a clinical dietitian by profession. I'm also a certified diabetic educator. So I've been into this industry more than a decade. And we are basically working with a holistic approach, whole solution under one roof. And my mastery is obesity and diabetes, of course.
Hi guys, so Andy Morley, I'm Chief Scientific Officer for O2H, and I've worked in the pharmaceutical industry for more years than I can remember, but I've worked on a number of projects that are in this space, and as Prashant said, I've got an interest in what's been going on over the last few years. Pleasure to be on the panel.
What an incredible panel we have, covering a really wide range of perspectives. Can't wait to get stuck into this. Dr. Chirag, how would you define obesity?
Obesity is, I would say, it's a metabolic disease which the primary defining factor is an abnormal deposition of fat in the body, which eventually affects almost every system of the body. The association of obesity to problems like diabetes, cardiac problems, hypertension, dyslipidemia is very well known. But something which is comparatively less known or people understand less is that obesity is a kind of a chronic inflammatory condition which again affects the whole of the body. Just imagine that you are carrying a virus 24/7, 365 days. That is what obesity causes to your body. We all know that oil or fat, when it is stale, it gets rancid. And the fat which is deposited in an abnormal amount in the body, when it is not destructed and renewed, it causes the same effect in your body. And that is how it leads to problems like atherosclerosis. Even the association of obesity to cancer has the same pathophysiology. And there are international guidelines to quantify the abnormal amount of fat that is deposited in the body. We measure it by weight or BMI, waist circumference or waist-hip ratio and all that. But what now we are able to understand is that those guidelines are still not very updated. It needs new modifications because those are Western standards, and we now are able to understand that the Asians, especially the Indians, are having all these metabolic problems at a much lesser amount of obesity or much lesser amount of fat deposition compared to the Western community. And the same also applies to gender. Males are certainly having more problems with lesser amount of abnormal fat compared to the females.
Thank you. I just want to say, you're in a very fine tradition of Indian doctors. It's one of India's greatest export is the Indian doctor. So it's great to come to the motherland and see that the Indian doctor tradition is in still wonderful hands and in good health. So thank you.
Certainly,
it's always a pleasure. What surgical options do you do, and are they effective?
See, so when we talk about bariatric surgeries or weight loss surgeries, they are essentially laparoscopic surgeries making changes in the stomach and intestines. So the common and the most standardized surgeries are gastric sleeve surgery, when we reduce the size of the stomach, and a couple of modifications of gastric bypass, where we make a pouch out of the stomach and attach a part of intestine so that a part of stomach and intestine is bypassed. So all these changes eventually causes a lot of changes in the gut-related hormones. Some of the hormones reduce and some hormones are increased. And the combination of that eventually helps us change our metabolism, where gradually the lipolysis, that is the fat, is destructed. And it also helps in the improvement of metabolic problems like diabetes, fatty liver, lipid abnormalities, and all that.
Has the new research on the new drugs, has it made the need for surgery redundant now?
I would not believe that. No doubt, there are a lot of updates which are very positive, very energizing because there was a lot of need for that space. See, we need to understand that obesity is a much complex problem than we would like to understand or consider. And the treatment of obesity is always going to be multifocal. So there would be space of medicine, there would be space for surgery. And as all the panelists would agree that lifestyle, cultural change, social change, and diet change are certainly the requirement, whatever updates come in medicine and surgery.
Is India, or in particular Ahmedabad and Gujarat, a world leader in these bariatric surgeries?
Pardon?
Is Ahmedabad, India, a world leader in some of these bariatric surgeries?
See, I am not exactly aware about the numbers, but see, in terms of the facilities and the expertise, we are at least at par, if not ahead to the other parts of the world.
Thank you. All right, so I'm now going to kind of roll on to Andy. So we looked at kind of surgical options and the great kind of pivot or turning point in the fight against obesity are these new drugs and these GLP-1 receptor agonists like semaglutide. It's like a magic pill, isn't it, Andy? How does it work?
I wouldn't go as far as that, Prashant. These are mimics of hormones, which are kind of communication systems that you have in your body. So as you eat or you're fasting, these can be regulated up and down. And GLP-1 stands for glucagon-like peptide. So it's a peptide, an amino acid sequence that is released into the body, and it impacts a lot of the organs in your body. Its main focus, as Dr. Chirag has mentioned, is that it will tell your brain that you're full, so you don't eat. But it also has impact then on how quickly your stomach can empty. And these hormones, there are several of them that come under a family class called incretins, and they all have close interlink and talk. And subsequently then, GLP-1 can also influence insulin, which is a key regulator of glucose for sugar. And all of this together then is, as has been alluded to, it's all keeping everything in balance. But this is one part of a journey that the pharmaceutical industry is going on that is impacting people for the better, but it is at an early stage.
Who are the major players in this space in terms of the GLP-1s, and what are the different treatment options available, or medical options or pill options that are available at the moment?
Well, to start with, GLP-1, I think, was originally identified late 60s, early 70s, so it's taken 50 years from identifying it to get where we've got to now. The first products on the market are relatively similar to the natural peptide. It's just they've been refined to give them a longer period of duration so you feel fuller for longer. But this is the first journey, and they aren't pills at the moment, or the first generation aren't pills because you've got to inject them. And subsequently then there are some people who just have a phobia against that. They don't like taking injections. But there's been an awful lot of work going into the kind of CMC and formulation side, because peptides, again, do what they need to do, but if you want to make them into drugs, you want to change them in some way, they aren't the easiest things to handle. So this first wave of products are the first stepping stone. More recently, they have been reformulated such that you can now start taking them orally as a pill, but they're probably not the optimal kind of compounds. And the companies who are doing that are the ones who've been working on insulins for a long time. So as Prashant mentioned, Novo Nordisk was a relatively small company in terms of its focus, which was purely on insulins and things around that. Now they've moved into the GLP-1 space, and their prices shot up dramatically. Eli Lilly are another company who've done that, and now you've seen the kind of money that can be made, and every pharmaceutical company, an awful lot of biotechs and startups are now moving into this space such that it is transformed.
Are there any other novel approaches on the horizon that are perhaps complementary or different to the GLP-1 approach?
There's a lot going on. As I mentioned, GLP-1 is a family of hormones called incretins, and these have close interplay. So there's an awful lot of work now looking at how these things can all combine, what the impact is. And as we've talked about an awful lot, there is this push now to personalised medicines, which will be, for you as an individual, what is your specific needs and requirements? And the more drugs and options we've got available to us, the more impact it can make on each specific individual and their circumstances.
Thank you, Andy. Vrunda, shouldn't we just focus on lifestyle and fitness instead of surgery and pills?
So, of course, I personally in favor of holistic approach and the lifestyle changes. So, first of all, if we want a temporary solution, then definitely, then I would not say definitely, but we might go with the pills or surgeries. But lifestyle changes is all about improving your mental and physical health both, including your emotional health as well, and to prevent other lifestyle diseases as well. And obviously without any side effects, with lots of positive outcomes. And it's basically to boost up your immunity, to boost up your confidence as well. We need to go with the lifestyle approaches. So it's all about lifespan versus health span.
And that brings me neatly on to Shaily. Your advice in this area?
So I personally feel that first we need to see what a lot of obese people have made multiple attempts in trying to reduce weight with different dietary approaches also, but they have been receiving failures. So it is better you use the technology, do the genetic testing, find out which genes are impacting you to not lose weight. Like for example, in our clients, we try to see the genes. If we are giving them high carb diets and their genetic is such that they are not able to digest carbs, then in that state of individual, you have to work differently. Now they will get demotivated in the process where we keep on imposing them to do the lifestyle changes. So that is where you need to play a holistic approach where you use the technology, do different kind of advanced technological tests, get the holistic information about that individual, understand how their relationship with the food is, understand what kind of sensitivities they have, whether they are gluten sensitive, whether they are the caffeine metabolism in their body is not working well, the metabolic rate, why it is going slow, understanding their relationship with the food. Like a lot of people, as Vrunda mentioned, have body image issues. Now these are psychological issues. So when a client comes to me, I can't just act as a nutritionist. I need to give them a bundled solution where I am understanding their psychology, understanding their genes, understanding their dietary practices, and then giving them a solution, a holistic solution which is doable at their end. Like if to an obese person you will go and you'll tell, okay, you have to exercise daily. Now they will say, oh, I know this. I know I don't have to eat processed food. I know I don't have to eat packaged foods. But how are you going to act differently? So that is where you are trying to fill the gap, understand their psychology and work on their small behavioral changes, and then reach to a stage where they are ready to embrace the dietary changes. First, we need to focus on lifestyle changes.
Well, I've known you for 17 years, I think, and you haven't aged a bit in that time. And you've always been very passionate about lifestyle, diet, nutrition. I'm not surprised that your husband's an Iron Man on top of that. So whatever she says, take note. It'd be good advice, and you're living proof that it works.
Thank you.
Kat, early diagnosis, can that help?
Yes, absolutely. So the good news is we're living in an age now, particularly in recent years post-COVID, where people are interested in getting involved in their own health and tracking their own health. we have the rise of wearables, and people are just more attentive to what's going on with their own bodies. So therein gives us the opportunity to look earlier at the signs of not just obesity, but the diseases that can lead on to that. So, of course, early diagnosis can help because it means we can intervene sooner. To go back to something that Dr. Chirag pointed out, this is not just about body mass index and weight. Obesity is an imbalance in your fat and muscle ratio. Essentially, it's over fat rather than overweight. And we can look at that early. We can look at that even if you're not overweight by things like bioimpedance analysis, where you can actually monitor the fat and muscle ratio. Sorry. So you can actually monitor the fat and muscle ratio quite easily with devices at home. Then we can look at, okay, well, if things aren't quite right, is that due to eating patterns and behavioural traits? So, and then there are things in your blood biochemistry that can help you with that. So looking at, for instance, HbA1c, so for prolonged elevated levels of glucose can indicate you're eating too many sugary things too often. We can look for early signs of leptin resistance, which is one of the things that happens upstream of, say, insulin resistance that leads on to type 2 diabetes. And then we can also help with those where we are seeing signs of obesity, where there are the warning signs that this could lead on to other issues. And those are the non-communicable diseases that stem from chronic low-grade inflammation. And you can track that quite easily by things like looking at a chronic slightly elevated level of CRP. So there are lots of ways that we can look early to see not just is somebody obese, but what are what's happening in the body associated with that, and then intervene in the most appropriate way.
I just want to touch on what Shaily just touched on just now, which is genetic approaches. And we talked about there being a multifactorial approach. So can we not kind of understand the genetic makeup of somebody and perhaps even intervene? I mean, you talked about personalized diets according to the genetic profile. But then if we understand what's happening at the genetic level, there may be a whole bunch of other approaches we could leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we mentioned earlier, obesity is a holistic issue. It's not just about the amount of fat or the amount of food you eat. It's also about lifestyle. It's also about what you eat. It's also about how well you look after yourself. How well you sleep, for instance, can have an impact on it. Stress levels have an impact on your eating patterns. And then we need to think about the more broader issues. So the societal factors. Quite often people just don't have the time or maybe the money to eat well. And that's a much broader issue. So, and yes, we can measure those things. So there are well-validated surveys and measures you can take of stress levels, of eating patterns, of exercise patterns. And this is the sort of thing that I was looking at Zenavida by tying together about 100 different variables across about 7 different factors to paint an individual picture of that individual, where their health status is, not disease status, but health status is, to actually then intervene effectively with diet and lifestyle changes. So all of these things are measurable. As Shaily pointed out in the pre-panel briefing, we've had significant advantages in the genetic testing as well, and of course that does have an impact. So all of these factors come into play, and then by generating that bigger picture of that individual, then we can work out how to not just treat, but enable and support that individual appropriately.
Thank you. I've got lots of other questions here, but I want to bring in the audience because obviously this subject matter touches all of us in many different ways, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you are, we're always conscious of what we eat. Well, most of us, apart from the people eating all those biscuits, didn't seem very conscious at all. However, on the whole, most of us are conscious about what we eat. Can we invite some questions from the audience? Yes, please. Can we get a microphone over there? And if there's one down here, yeah, a couple down here, and then we'll get a microphone out to the back. Keep a few questions ready. We want this to be a bit more interactive, this session.
Hello.
It's on.
So really it was wonderful discussion. My question directly to Dr. Chirag. So you have mentioned it that surgery for the obesity. So my question is what are the disadvantages for this surgery?
See, every modification, whether we say medication or surgery, they certainly have their disadvantages. But whenever we choose a modality of treatment, that is a balance between what benefits they bring and weighing it with the disadvantages. So bariatric surgery is an advanced surgery, and there are likely major complications which are comparatively rarer. And more common problems would be nutritional problems because of the weight loss, because of the changes in the digestive system that we create during the surgery. But with all these things, bariatric surgery in current time is not a new thing. It has been here for more than 20 years now, and the science has evolved to tackle with the problems that occurs with the bariatric surgery. And if we see the advantages that it brings, in the current time, I would say that we don't have any other better alternative to that. When what Shaily and Vrunda told, I totally agree that diet and lifestyle changes, even I would say cultural and behavioral changes are a must. But when I'm talking about bariatric surgery, many of the people here would not be aware exactly what kind of patients I'm talking about. If I give an example, recently I operated a 31-year-old female whose weight was 116 or 117. Her height was 5 feet. So her BMI was around 53 or 54. So at that height, the ideal weight would be around 55. So we are talking about people who are weighing double than what their ideal weight should be. And if we want to give them any reasonable medical health benefit, they need to have at least 20-25 kgs of a sustained weight loss. And I don't think in current times, without a bariatric surgery, we have an other alternative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question, Nishay. And then is there a mic at the back ready? Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, so my question is actually directed towards Vrunda and Shaily. You just talked about a long list of things, like from sleep to stress to addictions to food to even access to cleaner food and convenience of cleaner food versus processed food. It's just such an overwhelming list of things to take care of from the morning to the time that you go to bed that it becomes extremely difficult to not just track but also get done by the end of the day with your working lifestyle and everything. So for my question to you directly is going to be, what are going to be 2 or 3 steps which have the highest impact and the most easily practicable for any particular working professional today? Because I think that's going to be one of the key takeaways that you're going to take away from the session. So yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to ask one of you to take this question and let someone else come up with another question. Okay.
Sure. So first of all, very good question, and that's the most common concern for all the people, for our patients. So I completely agree with Shaily told initially that it's not, we cannot give the ideal diet or perfect exercise routine from the day one. I would say rather than going for the 2 or 3 approaches, I would say go for every approaches for the first step. Like it's all about the baby step. For example, if I take about the sleep, and if a person has tendency to go to sleep at 1 o'clock, I do not immediately say that sleep at 10 o'clock in the night, right? First of all, I need to understand the daily routine and his lifestyle and whatever the concern may be, whether with the spouse time or whatever it is. So first I'll, request them to, at least, prepone it to 12 a.m. if he can. Then gradually I can go up to. Then talking about the stress, I also advise meditation sessions initially, or I advise affirmations, either write or listen, or depending on their readiness and depending on their adaptability. And I sometimes, like most of the cases, especially in PCOS, it is because of the mental trauma. So sometimes I ask them to consult a psychologist, then only they are getting the results. And in terms of diet, again, we all nutritionists, we always go with the slow, gradual changes, the baby steps. I always tell my patients, your diet should not be the perfect, but to give you a convenient diet, it's my responsibility. To follow it thoroughly, it's your responsibility. So if I change 5 to 10% of your existing diet, then for them, like, okay, this is possible for me. Then next week we are meeting again I'll change the 5%, and again I'll change my 5%. So they, without their knowing, I'll give them the ideal diet at the end of the month or 2 or 3, depends. Right, so that's
Got it.
Can I add 2 more points?
Yeah, but one thing I've taken away from you is no drastic changes. That's what your key message here. Small baby steps, change one thing at a time, embed it, win it, and then move to the next one. Is that right?
Because that's what the lifestyle changes is all about, and it has to be sustainable for the whole life.
Okay, no drastic changes. I got that.
And in addition to what she has said, 2 more things which you can do is don't jump directly on a bigger goals. Just make small habit changes. For example, if you just check in a span of a day, which is the time of the day when you are feeling most hungry. And that time, if you're feeling hungry daily, 5 p.m. is the time where you can't control your hunger and you will eat anything and everything, even if you have eaten right from the start of the day. And it will ruin your 5 p.m. Snack which you have taken, all your efforts. So do the meal preps, take relevant, good, healthy snacks with you. Do all your meal preps in the weekend when you have time to cater to your busy lifestyle. And you keep it and feed your tummy before you get that craving. So what will happen is, instead of curbing the craving, you are trying to tackle the crave. And one thing you should understand is whether that is a hunger or it is a craving. Now, a lot of people do not hydrate well. When for most of the brain, 40% approximately is in the brain is your water. Now, if you do not hydrate well, your brain will keep inducing cravings. So the best way to handle a craving is hydrate well, and then see whether you are able to curb your craving or not. A lot of people keep on suppressing these things, and that builds on at the night. When you are working till late, you will end up eating all junk. Everything is available on the tip of your finger button. You order chips and you will eat it at night and you will go off to sleep. So work on these small changes. I think that will serve the purpose.
You've got me thinking now. Kitla biscuit khada tea time. We have a craving problem in O2H. At 10:30, we have a biscuit craving problem. Ekla avta varas bada pani pivanu chhe. Right, tea time. Okay.
And one more thing, as you have said this. So even the type of the craving, like we ask the clients what type of craving you have, that will identify which nutritional deficiency you have. Someone will crave for salty food. Someone will crave for ice. Someone will crave for cheese. Someone will crave for deep fried foods. So understand which type of craving you are getting, that relevant nutrient deficiency is there.
Thank you. Kat, please come in.
Yeah, just very quickly, you touched on quite an important point there, that we see food as energy and nutrients, but it's more than that. Food is information for the body. The body's a very clever thing. We've evolved over, hundreds of thousands of years. And so you have cravings for a reason. And the food that you give your body also gives your body a message. So the type of food that you eat, how you eat, when you eat, not just what you eat, is telling your body something about the way that you're living, and your body will respond accordingly. So if you're eating rubbish foods at rubbish times, your body will say, this body is under stress, right? There's something not right. And it will put your body into a sort of a chronic level of anxiety, really, on a physiological level. So, think about not just the composition of what you eat, but your eating habits as well, because you're telling your body something about your environment.
Thank you. There's a question at the back which I didn't get around to. There it is. Have we got a microphone? We'll let Alice come in first, but please get a microphone to the gentleman at the back who hasn't had a chance to ask that question. Alice?
Whilst we're also seeing a worldwide increase in rates of obesity, we're also seeing distressing and significant and concerning increases in rates of eating disorders. So my question is, which I invite anyone to contribute answers to, is in these conversations, how can we be mindful of and protective towards those either at risk of or with restrictive eating disorders, in how we address these questions, who, might be in these audiences hearing these, completely well-evidenced pieces of advice and information, but unfortunately taking that from, an unhelpful mindset to the detriment of their own health. So, how can we be mindful of getting the right balance in these conversations?
I'm going to bring the doctor in here, please.
See, these are, I think, if I get it right, she's talking about the eating disorder kind of thing and being mindful of a healthy way of eating. Am I getting it right?
Yeah.
So, see, there are a lot of behavioral and social cultural aspects related to it. And see, people in today's times are under too much of stress, to be very fact. Before also, when we had a discussion with the our panel, and people said that we should have some regulations to reduce the work times. But we need to understand that a lot of people are on their own to decide exactly how much to work. What would you say to a student who is putting on weight and putting too much pressure on their studies? So the way to curb the eating disorders or the unhealthy eating habits would be to see health as a whole, tackling the stress factor, tackling the small big habits, improving sleep, having some physical activity, and
that's absolutely true, because if you just look at a behavior analysis, for instance, asking someone the question of, do you feel you eat too much? Do you feel guilty after eating? Do you find yourself craving particular things? You will get the same answer from someone who has an eating disorder to lose weight as you have someone who has essentially an eating disorder to eat too much. So those answers are the same. And so you do have to look at the broader picture to work out, is this somebody who's struggling with eating too much or someone who's struggling with eating not enough?
Shaily, I'd just like to ask you, social media, does that have a role to play on some of these eating disorders?
Yeah, definitely. A lot. So, as you mentioned about mindful eating, now how many of you are eating, when you're eating food, you're keeping your mobile aside and you're keeping yourself away from all the digital devices and TV? This generation, I see all the parents are feeding their kids when there is a television which is on. Now, that is where the mindful eating comes into play. You are not focusing on food when you are eating. Your mind is distracted. You are just eating mechanically. You are not activating all your 5 senses. You are not seeing the colors on your food plate. And earlier there was a time where everyone was just counting calories. But now it's beyond calories. You need to eat nutrient-dense food. You need to chew your every morsel multiple times. You need to understand the texture of the food. You need to smell the aroma of the food. When you will start focusing on eating food, then automatically you will be mindful. Second point, whenever you are shopping, how many people read the food labels? When you are picking any product from the shelf of a grocery market, how many people reverse the packet and read what exactly it is? If the ingredients are more than 2 or 3, or some ingredients which you cannot understand, please do not buy it. It is full of chemicals and preservatives. So that is where the mindfulness will come into play.
Dr. Chirag?
See, I would say that mindfulness and health are generic terms. We cannot be mindful of eating while we are not mindful throughout the day. See, if we see many a times we are driving and we are thinking something else. We are doing something and we are thinking something else. So, mindfulness is a generic thing. And stress, emotional problems, and sleep are some of the very ignored things which affect health across the spectrum of all the systems and everything. So, I think those 3 things are certainly too important.
Thank you. The question. We've got a mic to you finally.
So my I have two questions to Dr. Chirag. So, a few months ago, I was doing a project in my MSc, which was on development of anti-adipogenic peptides. So, during that research, I had read a few papers. So, my first question is that as we are talking about GLP-1 or Ozempic, all of these drugs are not directly targeting the root cause of obesity, that is adipocytes. So, the cells that are dividing continuously are the adipocytes. These are indirect targets. So it has a lot of side effects on the body. So how much there is a need to have a direct drug target that directly targets on the root cause. And the second is that I also read that in India particularly, the people are not generally looking over obese, but they are skinny fat. And these kind of people are also at a very high risk of becoming obese. So how much of Indians are at a risk, and how much attention it requires?
See, coming to your first question, I agree that GLP-1 is not the direct target. But I would also say that fat is not the direct target. The primary target are the body's metabolism and the way we eat and lead our lives. So the way forward is not to target on the fat cells. And to be factful, fat cell doesn't multiply and divide, they just enlarge and make us fat. So fat deposition to target obesity, in the current times, targeting these peptides and the hormones is the key thing. If you want to go to a more primary and deeper level, that would be something if we can hack the behavior pattern, or we can hack the social and cultural thing, that would be the primary target things.
Please come in.
Another way to combat too much fat is to build up your muscle. Now, I don't mean go bodybuilding. Just means moving around, because at its heart, obesity is just that imbalance of fat and muscle. So if you get up and move around, you'll start to use your muscles more. Your muscles will release myokines, and that will naturally start to readjust your metabolism and start to readjust a lot of your hormones around eating patterns as well. So that adipokine, myokine balance is incredibly important, and you can adjust it by doing something simple like moving around more.
Andy, do you want to comment on that research approach and alternative approaches to the GLP-1?
Yeah, no, GLP-1s have got side effects. They are not the magic bullet, as you say. You've got to take them. The minute you stop it, the weight comes back on. So there's got to be fundamental changes, as everyone's been saying. The other thing is they don't just reduce fat, they reduce muscle as well in some of these cases. So there are positives, but there are downsides. And as we talked about on other things, all of this is things in moderation. And probably the biggest take-home message from it all is try and be happy.
Thank you. Good advice. Any other questions? Yeah, Claudio.
Yeah, no, can you hear me?
Yeah, quick questions and quick answers now. We're in the quick fire stage of our panel, okay?
It has been partially answered by Dr. Morley, yeah. But I wanted to know basically what would be the next generation of GLP-1 inhibitors. So something that would address the secondary effects of reducing the mass.
Yeah, and understanding a little bit more. Like I say, this is the first wave, so the first time the drugs have been into patients, there's a huge amount of hype on them, but they haven't been on the market for a long period of time. So the longer-term consequences are only now starting to come to light. The trials can be put into specific subsets of patients. You get that data back. But as more and more research comes along, more and more drugs become available, then you're going to have that better opportunity to see you've got a toolbox, as we've used for other things, how those different components can be put together and what outcomes they provide are going to be key moving forward. There's a load of scope, there's a load of opportunity for innovation. What that end product's going to be, we don't know yet.
I'm going to now head into closing comments. But there's a few areas which we haven't touched upon, and feel free to kind of jump into it. Child obesity, regulatory, and predictions for the future. So feel free to kind of pick up on any of these or any other bits of the obesity landscape which we haven't touched on yet. So I'm going to go in closing comments and thoughts on any of those topics as well, Dr. Chirag.
See, coming to the future trends, I am very certain that there are a lot of new medications going to come, which are quite welcome. And even with those innovations, I'm sure that we are going to struggle in tackling obesity because as much as we develop the surgical techniques and the medications, these problems are also going to increase. Certainly, with the improvement in treatment, the outcomes are good, but then we will find some new problems and we'll have to tackle them. And in terms of medication, see, when we do a surgery, there are a host of changes in the gut hormones. So I probably suspect that there would be medication addressing the other gut hormones, which in combination with GLP-1 would probably make a difference.
Thank you. Kat.
Okay, my closing thought from what we've discussed is there's a place for all of these, and like any toolbox, you need to use the right tool for the job. So you need to deploy the right thing in the right circumstances. So, you know, there's a place for surgery, right? There's a place for drugs, and there's also a place for diet and lifestyle. There's also a place for us as individuals to actually pay more attention to this. So that's my closing thought, that they all form our suite of ways in which we can address obesity at different stages in its progression. With regards to on those topics, both regulatory, societal and child obesity, beware how we message obesity and what we do about it. So in particular, beware the oversimplified messages. Oh, all you got to do is cut out sugar. All you got to do is drink cabbage water. Things like this. No, obesity is a complex problem. And so, you know, we need to make sure that we message it properly to parents and to children.
Thank you, Kat.
Yeah, so I think everyone thinks about carbs, protein, and fat when it comes to nutrition. But the most important element, fiber, is forgotten, which is a part of macros. And all the micronutrients are also not talked about. So I think you should focus not on calories, but focus more on nutrient-dense foods. Secondly, make healthy food accessible to you and respect your body, treat your body as a temple. Whatever you are putting inside your mouth, eat for your tummy, not for your taste. You can do one exercise which Milan Soman had done once upon a time, that whatever you are eating in your mouth, start putting that same thing in a transparent poly bag. And at the end of the day, you will get a visual image that what all you have put into your digestive tract. And that will be an eye-opener for your own self. That, okay, you need to be mindful what you're putting inside.
See, you reminded me of a story now in O2H, when it's our 20th birthday, and when we started O2H, I was horrified by the eating patterns in our team. So instead of giving like biscuits and fafda and gatia, crisps and all this stuff at 4 o'clock chai time, all right, I put salad on the table every day, and we had a team of people cutting and chopping salad, cucumbers, tomatoes, and nobody would eat any of it. There was revolt for around a year, but bit by bit, people started eating healthier salad foods. But it was, I was never going to win this battle, but I did put up a good fight on this.
So, you know, the thing is that ultra-processed foods are so conveniently available, but healthy foods are not accessible so easily. So that is where the environmental factors also play a role. Where if environment is not supporting you, you yourself support yourself. Do your meal preps and take nuts and seeds or fresh fruits or roasted snacks along with you to cater to your hunger cues. And the last is move more. Then you will automatically feel great. As Andy said, you know, you need to be happy. Manage your sleep and stress, and automatically all this will take care of your wellness. Thanks.
Shaily, thank you. Vrunda?
So I would address on childhood obesity. That's the main concern, and that's the future of India. So first of all, being a parent, we got to change ourselves first. Kids do what we do, they cannot do what we say to them. So first, ask yourself, being a parent, how fitness conscious you are, how regularly exercise you are doing, and how whatever the healthy habits, it's not about the hereditary, it's about the lifestyle duplication in the next generation. First. Second, in the school cafeterias, there has to be healthy options available in the school cafeterias, and stop giving rewards to your kids for, like stop, I would say, making relation with the food with the celebration, especially for your kids. Like if you get good marks, I'll, buy you a French fries or something like that. And that's the main habit, we got to change. Next, as Shaily mentioned, screen time, very, very dangerous in terms of childhood obesity, in terms of mental and emotional health, in terms of your behavior changes, or in terms of their speech delaying. Screen time is most hazardous.
Thank you. Andy?
Yeah, this is one of the biggest issues that we face as a world at the moment, along with several other things. Please, you guys, a lot of you are an awful lot younger than me, but think about what happens to you when you get to my age and what's going to happen. Everything that the ladies and Dr. Chirag have said, yeah, be more mindful and understanding about yourself and implications. But I go back to what I said before, just try and be happy. And that'll sort 99% of your problems out if possible.
So if you're going to meet Andy over lunch, this is what he's going to tell you. You can be sure of that. Please be happy. Now, talking about childhood obesity, you remind me, I've got a 3-year-old, and trying to get him to eat healthy isn't very easy. And I've been trying to educate him that this has chemicals in, this is that, and eventually he won't eat it at first, and then he's got the craving for chips and crisps. He goes, I want chemicals, Daddy, I want chemicals. So that's his response. So I've got a lot of work to do. I'm going to come back to you at the very end, Shaily, for our last question, but Dr. Chirag wants to come in. You had a comment on something. You didn't? Okay, no, you didn't. All right, I thought you were catching my eye. Now, Shaily, last word. Now, in India and Gujarat, we love our fried food, bhajia, jalebi, and even when I try to feed salad to the team, it's like, Prashant, koi na taru salad nathi khao. All right? So and gulab jam, jalebi, ladus, we love all this food. Isn't it easier just to say, be happy, relax, eat, khai peena, maja karo, all right? And eat and take one of Andy's pills.
So yeah, this is the most common thing कि कल किसने देखा है? आज खाओ, कल आज मौज करो, कल किसने देखा है? But the thing is, you make today's day a happy day. If you are healthy, you automatically will be happy. If you will depend on gathia, gathia, fafda and all these things, you will yourself, your brain will also function like gathia and fafda only. If you want to want your brain to be activated, you want to activate your cells, you want to be sharp in your work, you have to put the right ingredients into your system to work that ways.
Well, on that note, we've now got lunch. I hope I haven't put you off your lunch. I doubt I will. I know that's impossible in Gujarat.
Today in the lunch, everyone will have salads.
yeah. We've got salad. That's it. All right. Look, please enjoy your lunch. And please be back here for 2 o'clock. But before I send you off on your lunch, hold on a second. Hold on. I know you're hungry. Hey, Bessie Joe. Hey. All right. Let's firstly congratulate and appreciate this incredible panel, and what a conversation, right?